This is going to be my first time playing Update 37 in Lord of the Rings Online, and in this LOTRO challenge we're going to see what the stat squish did to my Warden. So we are running Sant Lower, which is my favorite 3-man instance at level 140. On tier 3 we're running the full 3-man version and trying to solo it on my Warden, which definitely would have been possible before the stat squish. So in this test, we will try to see if my character is the same as before, as it maybe ideally would be with a stat squish, or maybe some of the side effects of a stat squish could have buffed this character or even nerfed him and made this more challenging. I don't have too much time, so we'll see if I get to the last boss today or if it's even going to be possible. Never any issue with forgetting how Warden plays and taking a break. So at this point, I've killed the first couple groups in this instance and then had a little bit of a misadventure with running into the group behind the bridge there. But I will say things feel a lot slower than before the update, but there are a couple issues with me creating any sort of conclusion at this point if this character is actually like relatively weaker or relatively stronger than before the stat squish. One, I did not try this exact scenario with this character's current setup right before update 37, so I don't really have an actual data point from before update 37 to compare to. It's just based on my general experience on this character really in my previous attempts that I have had a long while ago at soloing the higher tier group versions of this. And the other big issue is it's been a long time since I played Warden, so I don't know if my low damage, my character feeling weak, and all the squishiness is just because I forgot how to play Warden and have been out of practice and my arm is getting really sore trying to cast all this gambits. There are other factors like that that really prevent me from really drawing any sort of conclusion here. But I still think it's interesting just as a general challenge to try to solo this on tier 3, but it is going very slow. A lot of it has been cut and edited at this point in the video, so you'll have not seen the full brunt of the slowness. And of course, while I'm just yapping on here, I'm playing terribly, not really optimizing much of my DPS on this Reaver. But it is indeed quite slow. So I can't really tell though, again, if this character actually does less damage than before the update, or there are a lot of other factors going on, such as me even being in tank spec right now because DPS spec did not work too well. I'm too squishy in DPS spec really. That said, maybe against one mob, DPS spec would be the way to go. Also, most of my videos at this point at the new place have been in the standing setup. This is the sitting setup, so let me know if you have any thoughts on the sitting setup. Okay, so I do have to, ooh, some lag there, skipping over Gambit Builders, but I do have to remember that I'm actually playing DPS here. I do have Never Surrender up, so that was probably a little bit of a, oh, gotta use Never Surrender. Probably a little bit of a waste to try to do a heal there. I should be 100% focusing on maximizing my damage, and maybe if I need to trigger a heal now I can. Also gotta keep Spirit Fade up, that's a really good Gambit. Okay, so I am at this point going to slow him, assuming he's slowable. Wow, he actually is. Sometimes you just don't know in LOTRO if mobs are going to randomly be immune to crowd control because they don't like lore masters and classes that are focused around crowd control, I will say. Or they don't like players doing this. That's a little bit more realistic than the developers just not liking lore masters and their mechanics. Can I survive the water? Okay, I did, but kind of barely. Now, I don't think there's an actual back door into the first boss, so hopefully we can skip past that group with some strategic Warden stealth. I also really wish you could use cosmetic pets in instances. I get why you can't, but it can be fun to have them around. So while I have not fully soloed this boss on a high tier in the again full 3-man version, I have tanked it without a healer up to tier 5, so I should on survivability have no problem, assuming that the stat squish didn't nerf this character's survivability. So let's use Pro Warden Stealth here and sneak into the boss room so we don't have to fight those ads, and this is where the true challenge begins. So I believe that I actually did on higher tiers, especially tier 5 in particular, a little bit less so on tier 4 as I was getting better gear, but I did actually have to kite these guys around. Also, I'm going to go ahead and use my defensive buffs. Well, I'm really throwing my into the deep end here. I still don't feel actually properly practiced with the Warden since playing it for the first time in a month, basically. I think it's been about that long since I played this character. I'm also used to having people actually deal damage to these bosses. When you run the 3-man version, you have 2 other people killing them, so I don't actually have to worry about dealing damage, and now I have to try and toss in damaging gambits. What is this madness? I am alive though, so that's good. Like, my health is high. I know I've been kind of spamming restoration when I don't necessarily need to, but my health is staying up. I know power potions for some reason are super, super weak, but they were already super weak just from the power revamp whenever that came out. So that's not necessarily a direct effect of the stat squish, although it could have been impacted by it. Also, I don't think these guys would be stunnable. That'd be a little bit crazy. But I think I can go ahead and give them an increased incoming damage buff. Oh, I got one of those unremovable bleeds on me. That's not good. I must have run into something I wasn't supposed to, one of the thorny things. Either on the sides or in the middle. Yeah, this... Once I stopped focusing on my defenses, that was a really risky move going for that damage. I think I'm going to use... I should have a tier on that. Oh, wow, that was a big lag spike. That was really scary. If they hit me, I should survive. Okay, they did hit me. Good. Also, did not mean to use Celebration of Skill. I thought I already used my Gambit at that point. I think I'm going to go ahead and be safe and use a power potion, but this is going to take forever. This is not the most entertaining fight to me, and I think I'm going to go ahead and actually wrap up there. I do think with a couple DPS I would still be able to tank this, and I could focus more on just keeping myself alive, not going through that damaging phase, and perhaps kiting around the circle if I had to for extra survivability. But perhaps a better test would have been doing a tier 12 delving, because I just more recently did that in one of these LOTRO challenge videos, but I didn't want to do a delving again. Delvings they can be fun in limited quantities for me after like the initial phase when they first came out. They were quite fun to do a little bit more frequently, but especially the time investment to reward ratio that you get is kind of terrible with them, to be honest. Especially doing them solo versus doing duo tier 12 delvings with the missions. It's really not good, but maybe that would have been a better test and more fair comparison to before the update. But again, the point is, I didn't really want to run a delving. I didn't think you all would want to watch another delving, especially considering some of the upcoming or recently released delving content that I will have had. If you can't tell, I have had multiple projects going on lately. It's still getting kind of settled in with the move on top of that. Okay, never mind that. I thought it might be easy just to run to the first boss real quick and more or less ignore those ads, but yeah, unfortunately, I would consider this LOTRO challenge the first one that I have properly failed. And I don't know, my character very subjectively feels weaker than before the update, but it's hard to draw a more proper conclusion. But let me know what your experience has been post that revamp. This was really just a way for me to actually check it out on one of my characters with my very limited LOTRO playtime lately. Please let me know if you have any ideas for future LOTRO challenges, and if you enjoyed this one, consider liking and subscribing for more, and thanks for watching, everyone.